But he said, Steve, I sure did enjoy your talk last night. He said, I don't remember the words to the song, but I sure did like the music.
Wow.
That was a big deal.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we have at our best is the music. It elicits a feeling, not information. Well, the last time that I took a drink or a drug was June the 29th of 1989. But I was not stopping drinking on June the 29th of 1989. I always kid I can prove it because the last drink I had was an amaretto on the rocks, and nobody would choose that as their last drink.
No man would.
And I'll tell you, there's been no street cred in amaretto either, you know. Those were the dark days.
Yeah, but, you have a buttery nipple.
Yeah, but it was. But I was going into a treatment facility on July the 1st of '89, and I say not because I, had an epiphany or decided I needed or wanted to stop drinking and using, but I was going as part of a plea bargain agreement. I'd been convicted of my 6th DUI a year before. But ultimately, we got a deal where I got some jail time, and they also cut some of that jail time off if I would go to treatment, residential drug and alcohol rehabilitation. I didn't even have I didn't really know what that meant, but it sounded marginally better than jail.
You had no friends in recovery that you could ask
No,
about?
No. I knew some people who didn't drink anymore. I'd seen some bad TV movies of the week. And some after-school specials, but I didn't really know what that was going to be, except probably they weren't going to be drinking over there. And so my buddy was coming to pick me up on Saturday morning. They gave me that plea bargain agreement, and I went to a place called the Harbors of Brentwood, which was in Maryland Farms that you're familiar with, and on Ward Circle back there, there's now an assisted living facility that at the time was a small little treatment center. And I wandered in there on that Saturday morning. And it was probably 3 weeks into that I decided I needed to not drink. And I didn't, and I thought that's what I was going to be doing. I thought I need to not drink, so I'm going to try not to drink. We had been out to a variety of 12-step fellowships. As you know, there are over 200 12-step fellowships, but we had gone out to Alcoholics Anonymous, to Cocaine Anonymous, to Narcotics Anonymous. We'd had people brought different 12-step meetings in, and ultimately I found where I fit the best. But I would go in there and I was, two guys came in from, as it turns out, these two men were from Alcoholics Anonymous that came and brought a meeting to the treatment center 2 nights after I'd been there. And I'd been spending the first 2 days defending myself from the charge of alcoholism, right? They were it felt like to me that I had been charged and they were presenting evidence to convict me of the charges to help me see. And they were right. And I had a wonderful experience overall in treatment. But at that point, I'm still very much defending myself. And these two guys came in. One of them is still around Franklin today. And they told us where they'd come in from. And they said, look, we're not here to try to convince anybody. Said, we're not here on a membership drive. We got plenty of members. We're here just to talk about ourselves and our experience. And if when we're done, anybody's interested, we'll be happy to give you our number and offer some help if we can. And that put me at ease to sit back and listen. I wasn't converted. I didn't take the altar call that night,
But the fact that they're selling does help. The fact that they're not selling,
The fact that they're not selling. And in a weird way, I can't tell you, when they left, I don't know what they had said, but I felt better from having heard it. And that was, I know now, looking back in the recovery world, we call that the language of the heart. And what they had done, I'm sure, is shared some information that was important, but it resonated somewhere different than intellectually, right? The information is like, oh, but somewhere there was a knowing that I go, oh, yeah, that's true of me. That's me. And again, I wouldn't have been this clear on it. My mentor today says that life is, live forward and understood backwards. things. And so looking back is how I really see things. You go, oh, that's what was happening. But I know it. Early on, I would go to different recovery meetings after I got out and got excited, and I'd come home, I'd be telling my wife, Connie, I said, oh, you should have been there tonight. You should have heard the speaker. And she'd say, what did he say? And I'd go, I don't know.
But it was great.
Right, because it wasn't information. I got, every now and then I get invited to talk in the recovery world, and I had given a talk out in Palm Springs. This has been maybe 20 years ago. And a guy that later became a friend, he came by the breakfast table the next morning and gave me the nicest compliment I've ever received. I thought it was just for me. I've come to know he told hundreds of people this. But he said, Steve, I sure did enjoy your talk last night. He said, I don't remember the words to the song, but I sure did like the music.
Wow.
That was a big deal. And I think that's what we have at our best is the music. It elicits a feeling, not information. This isn't an academic exercise. It's a spiritual journey. You talk about it a lot.